Hi y'all, Austin here with Outer World Media. Welcome back to another book review. And I only have one thing to say to you. We have such sights to show you. Hi guys, again, welcome back to another video. We are kicking off the month of spooky season. Even though, I've read some horror books, today officially kicks off the month of spooky season. I read this review is going to kick it off. So what better way to do that than with a hell of a read, and that is the Hellbound Heart by Mr. Clive Barker. So, kind of giving you some background on this. Again, this was released in 1986. I believe this was originally released in the Books of Blood series by Clive Barker. I could be mistaken, but some other well-known stuff that started off in the Books of Blood short story collections was the short story that went on to become Candyman, the movie. So again, this is a novella of sorts. This is about 168 pages, so not too long. Now, if you know anything about the Hellraiser series, then you know what this is. But if you don't know anything about the Hellraiser series or what the Hellbound Heart is about, well, let me spell it out to you and let me give you some information. So the Hellbound Heart is essentially a horror story is what it is at heart. This story, we started off with a character named Frank, and all we know about Frank is that he has come across this lament configuration box, is what it's called, but we don't really know what it is. It's a puzzle of sorts, and so as you read in the story, Frank, we've realized and come to find out that Frank is trying to, get the pleasures of sorts, unworldly pleasures, if you will, which leads him. And again, I don't think I'm spoiling anything major, which leads him to come into contact with the Cenobites. And if you don't know what the Cenobites are, they are a demonic being. They are demonic beings, if you will. Everybody, I feel like, even if you're not a horror fan, knows Pinhead, which is what that's supposed to be. I feel like everybody knows Pinhead. So he meets them and whatnot, and then as we get further into the book, we are introduced to Frank's brother Rory and Rory's wife Julia. Now, they come into this house that they believe is deserted, and that people have just been kind of crashing at, homeless people and whatnot. And Rory and Julia don't have a great marriage. As the book goes on, we find out some stuff about Julia and whatnot. You could definitely tell the start of this book, when we're introduced to them, the strain their marriage has had. Again, as we get further in the book, though, we realize that their marriage didn't have much of a start to begin with, unfortunately. But again, we're introduced to them and this house that they're trying to renovate. And as they renovate this house, they come to find out stuff, and at least one of them does. I will say that one of them comes to find something in this house, and that something is the big question: is it demonic, or is it something else? This, and again, it's going to be hard really to talk about this without talking about the movie. We are introduced to a character named Christy in this as well. And I'm going to point some of the differences between the book and the movie. I can't help but not do it, unfortunately. But again, that's kind of wrapping the story up without spoiling anything, really. But again, this, I will say, compared to the movie, I have to say I prefer the movie. And that's not saying that this is a bad book, but the movie just expands on stuff. It gives the characters a little bit more depth, I think. And that's nothing against Mr. Barker in this. When you have a novella, you could only write characters to be have so much depth, if you will. Again, this is a hell of a novella, I'm not gonna lie. This was very, I don't want to say graphic, but it does have some decent imagery written in it, so your mind will definitely work with that. But again, the Hellbound Heart, I understand why it's kind of a classic. or it is a classic. I understand why in the horror community this is a classic book. You know, I had high expectations going into it, and I really enjoyed it. You know, I'd give it a 4 out of 5 for enjoying it and whatnot. Again, the big difference, you know, between this and the movie, again, besides the characters having more depth in the movie, which if you've seen the movie, you know there's not a whole lot of depth. I feel like we get more of the Cenobites in the movie versus the book, which was kind of a little bit of a, I don't want to say drag, but I was a little disappointed in that. I was really hoping to get more Cenobites in this. But again, guys, you know, the Hellbound Heart, should you pick it up? I'd say yes. This is a very, very good intro to horror. I'm not gonna lie, there is one scene though where it describes, and it's not very long, but it describes someone doing something to themselves. Which, if you've watched any of my book reviews in the past, you know I'm not a fan of reading that. Like, I understand it's gonna be in books that adults read, but I don't enjoy reading it. So that was kind of another knock on the score as well for me, and dropped it down just a little bit. But again, guys, the Hellbound Heart, should you pick this up? Should you read it? Yes. If you are a fan of the Hellraiser movies, I would highly recommend pick it up, give it a read. Even if you're not a fan of the series, I still think you can enjoy this for what it is. If you've never read the book or seen the series, I would definitely recommend pick the book up, read it, then go watch the movie. I think that, you know, you will definitely see the differences between them. You know, like I said, Hyde and Reed wanted to do a fellowship read for this book, and I volunteered for it. I kind of told him I was going to do it with him, so I don't know if I think I kind of voluntold him that I was going to do it with him. But we agreed to exchange some questions and whatnot, and so I sent him some, he sent me some, so I'm going to answer his questions now. Question number 1: what was your favorite scene / moment or image from the book? That's a good question. You know, I probably would have to go with the introduction of the Cenobites, in all honesty. That is what I'm here for. I am a horror fan through and through, if you can't tell. So anything with the Cenobites I am going to really enjoy. So I think the introduction to them, that's something that this book had that the movie didn't have. Was in this, we at least get to meet the Cenobites near the earlier part of the book, whereas in the movie you don't get to meet them till later on. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the book, you know, getting to read the description of the Cenobites and their just what they look like and whatnot. Question number 2: are the Cenobites evil? Ooh, that's a tough one, and this is the issue I'm having with trying to keep this and the movie separate, because and in my mind, you know, I've seen like up to like the 6th movie. You know, and they switch back and forth. The Cenobites are bad, they're good. They're bad, they're good. I would probably say yes. They are bad. You know, they are demonic beings. I don't. Again, it's hard. I think I'm just gonna go with the flat answer. Yes, I think they are. I don't think I can really justify it without bringing the movies into it, and I don't want to cross the movies in the book up. Question number 3: who is the most memorable character? Whew. I'm gonna have to say this. In the movie series, it's Pinhead. There's no question about it. In this book, though, and again, it's hard for me to keep the characters in the movie and the book separate from each other. I would probably have to say in this, Frank would probably be the most memorable character. Maybe even Julia. You know, and again, I don't want to go too deep into why. Again, I don't want to, you know, spoil anything for anybody, but I'd probably have to go with Frank. Frank is who I'm going to go with. Question number 4: have you and are you interested in reading the comics or watching the films? Well, I think I answered the films part. I've seen like up to part 6. I love the first 3. I can't remember on the 4th film. I actually have pre-ordered the Arrow 4K set. I'm going to watch them this month, in the month of October. I didn't know there was a comic series, to be honest with you. I know that there is a book out there that's like Sherlock Holmes versus Hellraiser or something like that, and I want to get that and read that. And I've had that book on my radar for quite a long time, and I haven't picked it up. I would probably definitely read the comic books. I feel like the comic books would be very graphic, but besides that, I mean, I definitely would read them. Question number 5: Had you or will you be reading any more books by Clive Barker? So that's a great question. Clive Barker has a few other books that I have my eye on. Specifically, the Books of Blood volume. I think it's three or four. I think it's three. That has the short story in there that was the premise and the basis for Candyman. I absolutely love the Candyman movie, so I'm interested in reading that. He does have another one. I know he has a book called Cable. I don't know if that's what I'm thinking of, but there is another one, and I don't know why it's giving a thumbs up here, guys. I do apologize. I forget what it is, but I definitely would be interested in reading more books by him. Question number 6: If you would recommend other readers read this book, what kind of person would get the most out of reading it? I think aside from your general horror fans who have seen the Hellraiser movies, I think anybody that's looking for a book that's not really horror, but it's not too scary, but it's a good start to get into the genre, see if it's something you like. I think this would be a perfectly good starting point. If I'm being honest with you, if there wasn't a few descriptions in here and a scene, I would say that even like a kid, like a teenager, an older teenager could read this. Yeah, I'd probably just have to go with anybody that's interested in maybe getting into the horror genre and like looking for a place to start. I think this would be a great place. In all honesty, again, it's not too graphic, not too scary. It's short, sweet, to the point. You kind of get, okay, yeah, I kind of like this, I kind of don't. And if you're looking for something a little different as well, this is it. If you're not wanting, a guy in a leather mat face chasing with a chainsaw or chasing a character, this is a little bit out there, and I really enjoyed it. I did. I know that Heinrich said this was a reread for him, so I'm hoping he enjoyed it as much as I did. But again, guys, The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. I'm so happy to finally read this and have this under my belt. This is one I definitely will reread in the future. Pick it up, guys. Again, spooky season is here. It's officially started. Go out, get this book, get other horror books. Let's talk about nothing but scary movies, scary books, scary cartoons, just everything scary and horror-wise for the next month. As always, y'all have a good one.